Hey everyone, this is Pastor Brian, and we are just in an interesting season of life. And so, one of the things we wanted to do is take an opportunity to continue to think about what does it look like to reach out? What does it look like for us when we can't be with people to be thinking in terms of how do we reach others? And so, one of our own, Brian Aust, serves as a staff worker for InterVarsity. He's also served in leadership roles and evangelism, and I know that he's got just a huge heart for outreach. And I know I've appreciated my conversations with him over the years, as well as he's our outreach influence team leader at First Covenant. So he's just got some rich experience. And so we are just wanting to see what God brings in this time that we're talking together. So, Brian, thank you for taking the time for this and for our chance to share some of the conversations we've even had in the background. But one of the things we talk a lot about is proclamation and demonstration of the gospel, and just the idea of using both our words and our actions in a way that witnesses to a watching world. And so I'm just interested in some of your thoughts on what does it look like for us in our actions to go out and to express God's kingdom to others or express his love to others, especially in this time, in this place.
Yeah, I really do believe that in this unique time, we have unique opportunities to do just that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's boils down to this, loving our neighbor, loving our family and our friends and those around us that God has put in our lives. And I think, it's easy to say that. We talk about love a lot, but um, to be intentional right now during this time of doing that. And so what does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think, first of all, to identify people who might be in need and reach out to them. And I
Yeah.
can think of a number of demographics of people that might include, like the people who have lost jobs, or people who don't have a lot of money or poor, the elderly, people who are
Mm-hmm.
already sick with other illnesses, widows, single parents. One that has become real to me a little bit more recently in working with students is, and I never thought about this, but people who are recovering from addictions. I have a couple students who are overcoming through the Christian community on campus and university. They're overcoming their addictions,
Yeah.
and they both went home to really bad home situations right now, and they're completely removed from all their support.
Wow.
And they are crying out for support from their Christian community, even if it's from a distance. And so
Sure.
people who are vulnerable like that, who have lost their support, uh, identifying, being intentional about thinking about who those people are in your life, and reaching out to them or identifying them, and then caring for them in tangible ways. Think of real, tangible ways that you can care for them and love them. Connect with them in multiple ways. I think there's a lot of people right now who are lonely,
Uh-huh.
and while we can't maybe go into their home right now or invite them into our home, there are many ways that I think we can connect with them. Technology is great, and there's opportunities
Mm-hmm.
there. But I've just been wondering lately, for me personally, like, I haven't written a handwritten letter in years.
Yeah.
How meaningful might that be? And now I might have a little more time to do that, to write a handwritten note even, or a card to
Yeah.
someone, and how much of a blessing that may be to someone. But um, yeah, asking them, how can I bless you? How can I care for you during this time? Don't just assume things.
Mm-hmm.
Don't assume that they don't want our help, and don't assume a no, but actually
Yeah.
asking, um, how can I really reach out to you and help you?
Yeah.
I think outside of outside of our relationships, maybe, is an opportunity to then go a little bit more out from our close knit circle, and what can we do to bless those who are serving us during this time? And so you think of
Good
first
thought.
responders, healthcare workers, grocery
Mm-hmm.
store, gas station employees, your mailman. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of people who work in these service industries, I feel like, I can't imagine how stressful their jobs are right now. And so, once again, asking them ways that we can bless them or care for them,
Mm-hmm.
and then being creative. And so, one specific example is our neighbor is an RN at the emergency room here locally at our hospital in River Falls.
Yeah.
And my family and I kind of brainstormed a list of ideas, and we kind of got crazy and had fun with it, of
Yeah.
maybe various ways we could bless our ER staff here locally.
Yeah.
And I presented those to her via Facebook, and she thanked me, and some of them she said wouldn't exactly work, but there were a few that she said would work. And so one of the things was
Yeah.
to just provide snacks for them and water. And so we went prepackaged stuff. They love homemade, but in the given circumstance, homemade was not requested. So
Hmm.
we provided some snacks for her to take into the ER department, bless them that
That's
way.
great.
It's been really cool to see other people in our church, hear stories of other people in our church already doing this,
Hmm.
like Camilla doing the masks, or
Yes.
others taking food to the food shelf and food pantry. So blessing those around us are that we already have relationship with, and then caring for and blessing people in the outer circles as well that are serving us things.
Yeah. No, that's great. That, and that's part of the reason why we're sharing those stories, and just to encourage anybody watching this, if you do something, uh, please let us know. Not, we know that you're not bragging, but it's an opportunity for us all to get ideas from one another in this time. So, please consider that. And your letter writing one,
Absolutely.
yeah, your letter writing one was an interesting, interesting one, because I hadn't ever thought about um, the writing letters until just lately. And just in a reading I had this morning, it was on C.S. Lewis and how he wrote so many personal letters to people, but he didn't necessarily uh, enjoy it, but he recognized the need, and he just went forward and did that out of a desire to serve others in their places of need, which another good reminder. But yeah, that's
Yeah,
neat.
absolutely. It gives us ideas, but it also gives us encouragement, right? To hear other
Yes.
people and
Yep.
what they're doing. So
That we
let's
really
share
are
those
in it
stories.
together. Yeah. 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 So please let us know those stories. We'd love to get those out on Facebook or share them on a Sunday morning. Um, the other conversation obviously is the proclamation of the gospel. And that's often the harder one, or the one that people feel uncomfortable with. What would be some ideas as far as how do we use our words in possibly sharing of God in this time and things?
Yeah, and I think um, this is one that um, maybe a lot of us are timid or intimidated by or afraid, and
Hmm.
I don't think we need to be. And I think in a way, I find it really interesting and fascinating that this happened at the time of year it has, because I think Easter has an opportunity with it
Yeah.
to do this well. I think around Easter and Christmas, more people are willing to engage in more spiritual discussions. And
Yes.
so let's take advantage of that. But I also know during times of crisis, during times of heartache and hardship, is also another time when people are more open to having more deeper spiritual type discussions. And so I think the first thing
Hmm.
I would say there is to invite others into spiritual conversations, to actually invite them into a spiritual conversation. And what do I mean by that? I think the way that I think is easiest to do this is to ask really good questions. So whether it be in person, if you're out walking down your street and you run into a neighbor, and of course you maintain that 6 foot separation, or
Yeah.
whether it be on Facebook or a text where you're reaching out to them and just connecting, asking them a question such as, what are your traditions of Easter, and what's that going to look like you for this year? Or
Hmm.
how does your faith or spiritual life serve you during a time like we're experiencing now in our country?
Yeah.
What do your beliefs or your spiritual life um, mean to you during this unusual time?
Yeah.
And those are just a couple examples. There's numerous questions you can ask, but what I love about asking those questions is you're inviting them into a conversation. You're not just, they don't feel like you're shoving your beliefs down their throat. You're actually taking an interest in what they think.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
generally speaking, excuse me, generally speaking, people do like to share what they think and what they believe.
Hmm.
And if you give them an opportunity to do that, at that point, usually they're interested then in hearing what you think or you believe, and then they'll invite you to
Yeah.
share your thoughts as well. And if that happens and they invite you then to share your thoughts, I would just encourage us to not be shy in responding appropriately, to be bold but loving in how we do that, and
Yeah.
to not worry so much about it being perfect, but sharing from
Hmm.
our hearts, sharing for how we really feel and what we really believe and think. And sharing on a personal level, sharing personal testimonies or stories with, what our relationship with Jesus does look like for us. And I think if we
Yeah.
do that, our friends will not think that we're being pushy or anything like that. I think it will be more natural, and I think it'll open the opportunity for further conversations with our
Yeah.
neighbors and friends.
Yeah. I
Another, go
I
ahead.
just throw in off that, the thought that was coming to my mind was if we can just do it from a place of love and of curiosity,
Yeah,
like be curious about people and just wanting to love them, like, and if we're just curious about, how did you come to be where you are right now? And there's a lot of door. People want to be known. That's even in scripture is we want to be known, and not just by God, we want to be known by others. And so if we can bring that atmosphere into the conversation, I think
yep,
I think it'll serve the way that you describe.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
You-
so I think doing that, inviting others into those conversations is great. And then a second suggestion is to actually offer prayer. And I
Mhm.
think one thing I was convicted of a number of years ago was often I would give a pat answer. I hear maybe other people give this answer of, oh, I'll keep you in my prayers. I'll be praying for you. But I was
Yeah.
convicted because I would tell people that and then I would forget to pray for them. So
Mm.
my suggestion would be to not just tell someone that you're going to pray for them, but actually pray for them on the spot right there.
Yeah.
And you may ask permission, especially if you know they're not a believer. Can I pray for you? And in all my time on campus, I've asked numerous atheist students, some of which are
Yeah.
even somewhat hostile to the gospel, if I can pray for them. And only once has even any student ever turned me down. I've had them say, I don't think it's going to help, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's very personal when you can pray for someone right there in the needs that they have. It's a way for you to tangibly, visibly show that you care about them, that you're willing to take time right there
Uh-huh.
to do that on the spot. And I think when you pray for them right there and whatever requests you may have for them specifically in their time of and where they are, you open the door for God to answer that prayer in any way he sees fit. And what a powerful opportunity for God to become real in their life by answering that prayer how he might see fit.
Yeah.
And as much as you may know about what's going on in their life, you don't know everything, but God does. And so he may answer that prayer in crazy ways that they might be
Yeah.
like, wow, like God really did answer this prayer. And so um, offer that prayer right there on the spot, whether that's, in person, 6 feet apart, or whether you're on Facebook or texting or whatever. But offer to pray for them on the spot. I think you will
Yeah.
be blessed and they will be blessed, and it gives God that opportunity to answer.
Yeah. No, that's great. And sometimes we think it's got to be this long prayer or a fancy prayer, but the simple, even bumbling prayer speaks of who God is, because he's greater than any of us. And so yeah, I appreciate the practicalness of that. So how about any other thoughts, Brian, as you think about this theme, this topic, that any further wisdom that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I think I just want to say, I think the COVID-19 that we're facing right now in our world, I think it's a great opportunity. I don't want to trivialize or not be real about the hardship, the heartache, the pain that
Yeah.
it is causing around the world.
Yes.
To some extent, it has affected everyone, and obviously, some people are experiencing it in different ways. But bottom line, it really, for the Christian, it is a great opportunity, I believe. And there are many people right now who are scared, who are
Hmm.
lonely, who are hurting. There's an opportunity there to care for them and to love them,
Yeah.
to be the hands and feet of Jesus to them.
Yes.
There's an opportunity to speak truth into their lives and to share the hope that we have in Jesus. And nowhere is that hope more evident, obviously, than the Easter story. So there's a great opportunity that we have.
Yes.
There's an opportunity in that we have more free time, or at least more flexible time. I know many of us are working from home, but
Hmm.
all of the busy activities that our families had that kept us running around every night, those are all canceled right now.
Yeah.
And I would say, yes, we can use that time to have fun with our families and to, have that fellowship and community. But let's use that time. Let's redeem it spiritually as well,
Hmm.
and use that extra time we have um, to be a witness to others and our neighbors. I notice as the few times I've driven around the last week or so, and as we've taken family walks and been outside or even looking out our window, there's been an increase in the number of people walking outside, walking their dogs, neighbors going
Yes.
to the park. There's an
Hmm.
opportunity with that. And some of that always happens in the spring when the weather starts to get a little warmer. But I think right now people are craving interaction with other people. And so even walking up and down our street, we have opportunities to get into conversations with people, ask people, are there ways that we can bless you? Do you need anything from the store? I'm going to go to the grocery tomorrow, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And then on a personal level, are we caring for ourselves spiritually? Many of
Hmm.
us, I feel like probably struggle with this idea of Sabbath and what it looks like to rest and to just spend time with God. And for many of us, we might have more flexibility in our schedule to have a quiet time every day or to even have a whole day of Sabbath
Yeah.
and to let God care for us and to care for ourselves on a personal level. And so I would encourage us to do that. And I think that will bring fruit as well.
Hmm.
I guess just a final other couple comments is to encourage people to be creative. Brainstorm ideas with your family of ways that you can bless other people. And maybe it's your
Hmm.
kids' teachers or classmates. Um, but be creative. There's no reason why we can't make this a fun thing to care
Yeah.
for and bless other people around us. Um, and then finally, to be intentional about doing this, to encourage all of us to do something, to write it down, to
Yeah.
discuss it with our families, to make a plan, and then carry out that plan. Don't waste this opportunity. I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and let's not waste it.
Yeah.
Let's honor God. Let's honor each other, care for each other, and care for those around us in
Yeah.
ways that are intentional. May God be glorified as we do so.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, those are fantastic words, and just even on that side of the, our spiritual disciplines, one of the things I was thinking about was coming out of this time is a time to reestablish some things in our life. Sabbath might be one of them that you
Mhm.
want to hold on to from this, or yeah. So, well, thank you, Brian. Really appreciate your skill and your heart, as well as your prayers and what you're lending to us at First Covenant in the conversations about outreach. And two, as we go forward here, just to all of us, something Brian and I have talked about is that when we do come through this, and this isn't going to be a short period of time, but when we do come through this, what does it look like to be fresh and to engage our neighbors anew? That there's just a fresh opportunity there that we might have to kind of do a restart with our neighborhood. And so we'll kind of kick some thoughts around on that at another time, but just start thinking about that, start praying about that. That's a great opportunity that we have coming. And do Easter is a wonderful time uh, to invite somebody, and there's nothing more non-threatening than a live stream of a church service. So we are going to be live streamed for Easter. So please consider sharing that with somebody who maybe doesn't go to church and is looking for a little bit of hope in a season where it's pretty difficult. But we really do believe that we can be the church to God's glory and our neighbor's good. And so that's our heart. That's our hope. We hope that you experience that as well. And thank you for taking the time to just listen to this and to further explore what reaching out looks like in an unusual season. So we just want to encourage you. Love God, love your neighbor, and do good.